Welcome back, people. This one is a big one. Well, they're all big ones, but so we've got 6 races left in the World Championship, and after the last couple of weeks, we've had Italy, Russia, and Turkey. At this point, if you look at just the last 2 races in and of itself, it should have been. So at this point, it definitely should have been. Lewis shouldn't have been running away with it, but it should be. The gap should be quite big. Well, it should be. First of all, Lewis should have the lead rather than Max at this point, and there should be a bit of a gap. Now, engine reliability. I didn't realise, like last year, I don't know for sure. No one took a grid penalty. Not Mercedes certainly didn't, and I don't think Max did. But for some reason, engine reliability has become a thing this year. Maybe it's the cost cap. I'm pretty sure it's the cost cap, because they've limited how much you can spend on things, and development is not going in the directions it was going. Partly because 2022 cars are coming, so they have to do all of their development towards that, and they can't afford to spend as much as they had done in the past on engine reliability and upgrading the parts. So, if for some reason, like I said, engine and reliability has become a thing now. Grid penalties and taking new parts and, is Mercedes going to last the end of the season, is now actually a topic of conversation, where it's never been a topic of conversation for, well, certainly Mercedes, but generally the top teams don't have engine issues. It's not, not like the 80s or the 90s, where if you finish races, if you look at, I'm going to probably do some videos in the future, but if you look at the results of some of the past World Championships, even right up until mid-2000s, certainly in the Schumacher days and the Senna days, like finishing more than half the races was a clap. Like, you actually done quite well to get through half the season. Cars would just blow up for no reason, gear failure, oil failure, tire, whatever, like things just fail all the time. And now it's sort of kind of rearing its head again. But like I said, it's pretty much because of the cost cap. They can't spend as much as they did, and they've got next year's car to worry about. So last week, obviously, Turkey, Mercedes took a grid penalty, a small grid, 10-place grid penalty rather than to the back, for changing one of the parts of Lewis's engine. Now, like I said, if you change more than 2 parts, it's a 10-place, and then you add more places for every part you take off. So if you take more than 3, it's like, okay, 3 or more, it's like, okay, you start from the back. It's too many places. But they only took 1, so they take 10-place grid drop. Now, that part is the only part that they're worried about, the internal combustion engine. So they're saying all the other parts, the other 4 parts of the engine, are fine. So, but they are also saying that they might have to take another engine component, which means they'll only lose 5 places next time. So that could be a good thing to avoid a DNF completely. They might have to do that for Lewis and Mercedes, which they have done with Bottas already. So I think going forward, obviously we've got America. You got to break the season down into little parts, because it's actually fascinatingly poised. Like, you can't look at the rest of these 6 races and go, yeah, okay, cool, he's going to win because of these races. So the first sort of part of it is USA Mexico. Well, technically you can do it into 2, but I'm going to do it to 3. I'm going to say USA Mexico. It's a little double header, because on paper it should be 1 apiece after these 2. So America, Hamilton's won World Championships there. He's won races there. Mercedes won the last race there with Bottas. Hamilton won the World Championship the day before, the week before, I think, in 2019, the last time the races in America, and he kind of switched off, which he does. He does do that. In 2015 he switched off with 4 races to go. Rosberg won all those 4 races, and then to start the next season he won the first 3, and then Hamilton, he recovered a bit. Obviously, then Rosberg won that World Championship. So last time it was kind of not really representative, I don't think, of where Lewis was at the time, but certainly Mercedes were good there. Hamilton loves America. On paper, if you were to write down at the start of the year which one's Red Bull tracks, which one's Mercedes tracks, this one would be a Mercedes track. But as we've been saying all damn year, Red Bull, first of all, Red Bull haven't been this good before, so we don't know whether it's a Red Bull or a Mercedes track. And we don't know where Mercedes are right now. Mercedes are pretty good, like in terms of car development. Since Silverstone, the whole thing changed to Silverstone, but Silverstone was where Mercedes, I think, got to grips with their car Long story short, I've watched some videos on it. They've changed the aero, so the aero around their front end of their car has got better. So their car has got much better, and their straight line speed has got a lot better now. So their car is much better than what it was. They've been way behind all season. Now they're starting to catch up. So, like I said, so the first part is USA Mexico. So USA is typically a Hamilton track. So you would probably expect Mercedes and Hamilton to do quite well there. You'd expect some sort of a 1-2, like both of the podium for sure. You'd expect that. So damage limitation for Max would be second or third. I mean, second would be pretty good for Max, I think. If you're Mercedes, you're going to want Hamilton 1-2, or Hamilton 1, Bottas 2. And then going into Mexico, it's kind of the reverse, but, well, it's kind of if and a but. So last time in Mexico, 2019, Max was on pole by half a second, but he went through yellow flags at the end of his lap, which means there's an accident, you need to slow down, and he didn't slow down enough. So he got taken 3 places back, which looking back is quite a lenient penalty, but that's what we're here for. He got taken 3 places back, so he started 4th. That was one of the early days of the Lewis and Max contact. There was a bit of contact, but kind of 6-1. It wasn't too important. But Max came off. They both got injured and damaged in that particular race. Lewis actually won the race. So Lewis actually won the last Mexico. Get the words out. Last Mexico Grand Prix, which is typically a Red Bull friendly circuit. Something to do with their turbo, and they can run it the way their car philosophy is. Like we talked about the high rake and the low rake. So the high rake car being the Red Bull, they're able to get the best out of that particular track. So the technicalities are kind of lost on me. I'm doing a bit more reading into it, but from what I understand is the way their car is set up, literally the actual geometry of their car, it just goes around that track really well. So Mercedes typically haven't been very good there, even though they won the last race there. But there's reasons for that. Max got a good job. If he started at the front, it might have been different. That race is very interesting because that start of that race is just pure straight. It's like Russia, pure straight all the way down. So if you start on the first 2 rows, if you start on pole, you're in a bit of trouble unless you're really rapid, because the first 2 guys are going to give a slipstream to the next 2 guys. So it could be anyone as long as you're in the first 2 rows, or maybe even 5th. First 2 rows, you're absolutely fine. I think pole position there is a bit of a curse, like I said, because you'll get slipstreamed by 3 people probably, and depending on where you are, that could be fast. You could have Max on pole. You could have all sorts of stuff going on. That turn 1 is one of those turns you just think, all right, cool. Just everyone, depends on who you like, just get through there unscathed. Don't crash in the first corner. It could be interesting. I mean, if Lewis wins Mexico and Max is behind again, and then Mexico comes, Lewis wins America, and then Mexico comes along, and then Max is on pole, Lewis is behind him, turn 1, it's a right. It's one of those really tight ones. It's a right, then another sharp left, then another right. So there's so many times, so many occasions to go like that, especially at the speeds they're going. Massive braking zone. Turn 1 is sharp. Turn 2, they're all very, very sharp. So, and then even turn 5, it's the whole first sector is actually really, really cool. There's a lot of sharp turns, 1 DRS zone, and a big hairpin towards the end of sector 1. So Mexico's going to be a good race, hopefully. I do actually like that track, playing it on Formula 1 on the game and watching on TV. Then after Mexico is Brazil. Now obviously Brazil, Hamilton's won, again, plenty of times, as you expect. Max dominated last time though. Again, that was actually one of the best races. That was actually one of the best races ever, actually. Say ever, that I've ever seen, or that most people have seen. That was where Lewis and Albon came together. That was when on the very last corner of the last lap, Gasly and Hamilton were like that, and then Hamilton got a grid penalty for taking Albon out. So that was a pretty fascinating race. But Max was very, very good there. Max was also very, very good the year before, where I think Lewis won. Yeah, Lewis won. That was when Ocon, who'd been lapped by Max Verstappen, was trying to unlap himself. Tries to overtake Max, takes Max out, was winning the race comfortably, and then Hamilton wins the race, and that's where Max and Ocon had that little sort of pushing match. So, Brazil, the experiences with Hamilton, but the last time they were there, it was a very, very good Red Bull track. So, on paper, like if you're gonna like blanket it like with a So basically, it's like, right, USA, Hamilton, Mercedes. Mexico, probably Red Bull. Brazil, probably Red Bull as well. Like, probably. Like, who knows? Could rain, could have... I mean, the way that the Mercedes car and the Red Bull car are now, I wouldn't be surprised if Mercedes seem to have the better car. So these probablys, you can probably take more percentages off Red Bull and add them to Mercedes, I think. Given how Mercedes' car has improved quite dramatically quite recently. So the first section, like I said, USA, Mexico. I would say Brazil is in a I'd like to include it with the next couple, but it's kind of an unknown. I'm going to include it with the next couple actually. So we've got Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Now, so Qatar is a MotoGP racetrack. They've never raced it in Formula One, so we literally don't know. It could be anyone's. The layout of the circuit, from what you've seen, it looks twisty and tight, like Mexico and Brazil. So it could be a Red Bull one in theory, but you absolutely have no idea until you get there. You don't know what the surface is going to be like, what the corners are going to be like, and who gets to grips with it when they get to the track. So no idea. Saudi Arabia is a brand new track. It's got a lot of long straights. So with a power advantage, again, could be Mercedes. So we get to Abu Dhabi now. So if this goes as you'd expect, you got Lewis in USA, Max in Mexico, and Brazil. Let's say Mercedes get it done in Qatar, brand new racetrack, and they also get it done in Saudi Arabia. That's 3-2. Given that Max is up by 1, it could very well be 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 points in Lewis's favour or Max's favour going into the last race, which means winner takes all. So it's going to be winner take all in Abu Dhabi. Now, again, Mercedes had won every single race in Abu Dhabi from I can't remember when it started, 2011, 12. No, could only be, yeah. They won every day. No, they didn't win every race. They'd won 4 in a row. I'm lying, because I remember Seb Vettel won. They won 4 in a row. They're very dominant in the hybrid era, so the 2014 era plus. That's the era I'm talking about. So they won all those races in the hybrid era until last year. But last year they'd literally switched off at the end of the season, and Hamilton had COVID 2 weeks ago. So he came back. He was like nowhere in that race. So Max dominated that race. So they did look like they had a step up though, Red Bull. So that was when Red Bull kind of made a lot of improvements and were like, okay, cool, we're really trying. And Mercedes and Hamilton, I think, took their foot off the gas a little bit, but they were dominated in that race. So, like it's going to be. I'll tell you one thing I know, not for sure, barring DNFs or crashes, which is entirely possible because Max and Lewis are going to be at the front row, the front 2 rows of every single race here going on, and their teammates are going to allow them to do their thing. You're not going to have Perez winning races or Bottas winning races. So if a Red Bull or a Mercedes is going to win the race, it's going to be Max or Lewis as long as they finish. So it's about wheel-to-wheel racing, and we could have another Britain, we could have another Monza, we could have weather. I mean, the weather's only really potentially the first 2, 3 races because Qatar, Abu Dhabi, and Saudi Arabia doesn't rain, obviously, does it? So forget those 3. Rain's not going to screw those 3. Rain in Brazil has happened. It's deluge in Brazil before. Could rain in America. Mexico is unlikely, but again, could rain. So weather shouldn't play a factor. Contact people out there, they are cool. They are more chill now. They're kind of talking in press conferences. Max and Lewis is talking in press conferences. Bit more cordial. They haven't like crashed at each other recently, and the race is quite close. So, and I also think that Lewis isn't under as much pressure, believe it or not, as he was before. Because at one point in the season, after Austria, before Britain, before it all changed, Max was absolutely rampant. Like they were pole position every race, winning every race, and it looked like it was going one way. That upgrade that Mercedes brought in Silverstone has saved the viewing anyway in terms of what we're enjoying, and it saved the World Championship because if they didn't do that, it'd have been. I mean, because Max still was on pole for that way. He won the sprint race, even though Lewis was on pole technically for that sprint race, but. Going forward, from there, it just looks to me that things have changed a lot. The momentum, the energy, obviously the crash changed all of that. Then another crash in Hungary for Max, and then the rain in Belgium, and then the rain in Russia. It's kind of been it's been unsettled. No one's had the time to go, 6 races of dry running and see who's the quickest and see who does what. So for me, after being in a period of absence, so Lewis started off quite well. So the first couple of races he was in front. Then it was Max. Red Bull just absolutely hammered it. Then the Mercedes were like, wait, okay, we're going to actually need to upgrade the car a little bit. Did that in Britain. Obviously Max crashed out. Then the next couple of races, it was kind of, it's in this unsettled era where Hamilton can thrive. He doesn't mind that. He quite likes all the sort of the battle of the championship, should we say? And that's going to be something that, well, it's going to be a factor, because we talked about car performance, we talked about the tracks that are coming up, apart from even Abu Dhabi, we spoke about for a bit. The only thing that we haven't spoken about is the experience between the two. So obviously Lewis has won 7 World Championships, he's won 100 races, blah, blah, blah. He's been there for 14 years. Max has been there, I think it's his 5th season, 4th season. He's obviously 22, 23 years old. First championship fight, and it's against Lewis Hamilton in the Mercedes. So given the experience obviously was with Hamilton, and he's done this before. So when it comes to Abu Dhabi, halfway through that race, if it's literally Max 1, Lewis 2, 2 seconds apart, they're about to do their first pit stops, and the championship is 1 point either way. It's basically winner take all. To me, that will, it depends on what the car's like. If Lewis' car is good, he'll be very, very confident. I think if Lewis' car isn't good, could get a bit frazzled. Likewise, that doesn't really apply to Max in the same way. And the reason why is because Max is supremely confident when he's supremely confident in any sort of situation. He's kind of not really that flappable. I think for me, his car is likely, by then his car is likely to be, it's going to be close one way or the other. It's not going to be miles in front. But I think even if Max's car is good, if he's not winning the race, it could get a bit frantic. So I think going forward, it's going to be a case of how far ahead are Mercedes going to be, and can they put enough pressure on Max to make him to get him out of his comfort? Because when he's comfortable and he's on pole and he's winning the race, he's very, very, very good. As is Hamilton, obviously. So I think the experience, obviously it's great to have if you're Hamilton, but I don't think Max is going to be at a disadvantage against Hamilton from an experience point of view. I think it's going to come down to car performance. Like, if the car's good, if the cars are bang even, then we'll see. Then I think obviously Lewis is going to be quite comfortable there. But if Lewis is a better car, or if Lewis doesn't have the better car, that's when it's going to get really frantic, because then he's maximising his driving ability to get to where Max is, and Max would be cruising with the better car. So I cannot wait. So Hamilton's only been on pole. So I mentioned Britain, which was kind of the sprint. He won first position for the sprint race, which then set the grid. So he didn't get pole technically, but he did get pole last week. Took a grid penalty. So he's only had 1 pole position since Spain, which is 13 races. So that kind of tells you, I guess, everything you need to know about where Mercedes has been. But Max has only had 1 fastest lap in the last 9 races. So again, it's all that tells you, what those stats tell me is it's very much a race strategy. As you've seen every week, it's a race strategy. Can you adapt to what's going on? Can you adapt to the rain coming with 5 laps to go? People like Norris wasn't able to. Hamilton and Verstappen were. Are you able to? Well, are you going to take each other out like Monza? Are you going to have your teammates do good work like last week in Turkey? There's so many variables. I think the main variable is going to be reliability. If they both finish every race and they both don't have any crashes with each other, or I say any crashes because you can't really say don't have any crashes. If they don't take each other out, if Hamilton makes a mistake or Max makes a mistake, fine. But as long as they don't come together and take each other out, or Hamilton hits Verstappen off, or vice versa, then I don't know what my gut is telling me. My gut is telling me that Qatar and Saudi Arabia is where it's going to be decided. Because I think in the next 3 races, USA, Mexico, Brazil, you're going to have it's going to be 2-1 either way. One thing I probably will not guarantee, but one thing I'm fairly confident is one person is going to win all 3 races, unless the only person that could win all 3 would be Hamilton. I don't think Verstappen can win all 3 of these races coming up, because I don't think he's gonna win America again, barring incident. Again, Lewis has won Brazil before, and he's won Mexico last time, so it's entirely possible if they've got a very good car and they put it together, they go 1, 2, 3, and then going into those 2 unknown races in Qatar and Saudi Arabia, he could have something like a 15, 16 point lead, and then if you come out of those 2 with no net loss, it could be. I mean, I think when you break it down, you can break it down whichever way you like. I think I'm not going to make a prediction yet. I'll make a prediction before Qatar, because I'll try to anyway. Because these next 2 races is going to be where it's decided. It's not going to be. You can't say now. Oh, those 2 are just such unknowns. Like, literally races they've never raced at, racetracks they've never raced at. So there's no way you could ever have an idea. But this week's going to be a good race. I mean, they're all good races. They're all fascinating races to watch. Brazil's great. Love Brazil. We haven't been to Brazil for a while. Obviously, all of these races, apart from Abu Dhabi, they didn't race last year. So it's kind of brand new. So Red Bull haven't really got any data to sort of go on. So Red Bull are a bit more in the dark. Mercedes obviously have had an idea of where they were obviously the best car last year. Because Red Bull have come so far up, they don't know where they're at. But at the minute, it's more or less 50-50. Max has a lead. You can kind of forget about where Hamilton should be or where Max should be at this point, because Max DNF'd in Britain. He scored a couple of points in Hungary when he was crashed into. He did maximise the grid penalty because of the rain in Russia, and obviously came second last week in Turkey, whereas Hamilton was taken out when he probably would have won the race in Monza, or at least would have come second in Monza, where he would have definitely gained an advantage over Max. Russia, he did manage to win, which was good. And then there's Belgium, he kind of got done dirty a little bit in the rain. So it's literally bang even. Like, it's bang even. These next couple of races are going to be key. Well, I'll tell you one thing, a key for Lewis and a key for Max. We'll wrap up with that. Key for Lewis is this weekend, for me. If Max wins this race this weekend, Max is going to win the World Championship. That's what I'm going to say. Max doesn't need to win this particular one, but he will need to win at least 3 races to finish the season, I think, because I feel like Hamilton will put his car in a better position. So this weekend isn't do or die. I feel like this weekend is do or die for Lewis, more or less, because he's going to need to win this one. Mexico and Brazil, if you're Max, you're going to want to probably win both of them. If you win 1 out of the 2, or if you go into Qatar with a lead, you're in good shape, because Qatar is who knows, because then you can build your lead in Qatar. Abu Dhabi, you won last time. I think it's going to be Max's crunch time is going to come Mexico, Brazil, Qatar. I think Lewis's crunch time is this weekend. He can't come third. Like, you just can't have Max, Sergio, Lewis. That can't happen, because that'll probably be championship over. Again, barring massive turnaround. So it's going to be it's massively more important for Lewis this weekend in America. But next week I'll be back. I'll recap America and sort of update everything that I've said here today, and hopefully it's going to go all the way down to Abu Dhabi. And like I said, a couple of weeks, I can't remember when it was, maybe a month or so ago, could very well be last lap Abu Dhabi, Max Lewis, and then we move from there. Appreciate the love as always. See you soon.